All right, episode 28, like Adele. In today's episode, we will be reacting to our 2022 World Cup predictions. This is not something we usually do, but we figure we have a little bit of fun and laugh at ourselves at some of our silly predictions and some of our spot on predictions. We're going to give ourselves a tap on the back. You know what I mean? So, how are you feeling today, bro?
I'm feeling pretty all right. I'm kind of going through World Cup withdrawal now, but it's kind of bittersweet at the moment. And this is the first time you and I have linked up in about 3 days. We broke our streak, but we're going to keep going.
Yeah, both of us been under the weather. I've been under the weather. You can hear it in my voice on the day of the final. I was pretty sick. And I'm actually going through some World Cup hangover right now. You know, withdrawals, hangover, however way you want to put it, that's what we're experiencing right now. And you know what's crazy? Today I tuned into the Man United Burnley Carabao Cup match, and it felt so strange. And I was like, the World Cup, it just finished on Sunday.
Oof.
Sunday and Tuesday they had games. Tuesday there were Carabao Cup games, and I'm like, and then Wednesday, which is today, and players that were involved in the World Cup were playing, and I was like, wow, it's just football overload, bro. You see?
Yeah, football, the show must go on. And it's just so weird because this World Cup being in the middle of the season in winter.
Exactly.
We're so used to having World Cups where there's like a month or two off.
So we would have had time to like take a time, break down what happened during the World Cup without any distractions from matches. You know, transfers would have been going on, but not the matches. You know what I mean? So it's pretty weird. But look, what we're going to be doing, we're going to go through each group, A to H, go through the knockout phase, and we're going to react to our predictions. And I have my group stage predictions here. I have my original knockout round prediction where I predicted the whole tournament. And I have the other predictions that I predicted during the tournament, what actually, the real thing. So let's start with Group A, where we had Netherlands topping their group, 7 points, Senegal second with 6, Ecuador barely missing out with 4, and the host Qatar without a point. Well, what's your first impressions of this group? Did it turn out the way you thought it would?
More or less a three-way race. Going into the tournament, I had anticipated Qatar would have been thoroughly outclassed. I mentioned that on paper they should finish with 0 points, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they didn't score a single goal. now they got their goal. In that second match against Senegal, I believe, through Muntari. It's not surprising. You have a team in this group that's the cream of the crop, tense battle for second, and then you have an outmatched host nation. So I had Netherlands and Ecuador going through because I felt that the Mane factor was going to be the decisive difference between Ecuador and Senegal. And I felt that Senegal, even though they're not a team that scores very many goals, they were doing very impressively in the defensive department, keeping clean sheets, really organized with Gustavo Alfaro. And I thought that they would just edge it. But Senegal managed to pull through. They managed to rise to the occasion without Mane. Another player stepped up, and I think Aliou Cisse gets a lot of credit for the organization of this team.
Well said, man. I had Qatar coming in 4th, Ecuador 3rd, Senegal 2nd, and the Netherlands 1st. I got this group spot on.
Yes,
and the reason why I got the Senegal part correct is because I predicted the tournament before Mane got injured because he got injured very late. So even though I was saying during the build-up that Senegal's not going through, they still got through. Credit to those guys, man, for stepping up.
Of course. And for the longest time, all the way up until Mane got injured, I had Senegal going through, but I allowed that factor to
I didn't change. Once I made the predictions, I didn't go and amend anything. So the Netherlands, they were quite impressive during the group phase. They topped the group, Senegal 2nd, and Ecuador, even though they were very impressive, I think Ecuador one of the teams that I felt really sorry for because they were so good
Yeah.
and they didn't deserve not. They actually deserve to go through to the round of 16. If I want to put it a better way, but Qatar, man, they go down as the worst hosts in the history of the tournament, and we both predicted that.
Yeah. I feel I'm with you. I think Ecuador was one of the best teams this year that did not advance, and they gave the Netherlands a hell of a fight in their second match day game. There were moments where Ecuador could have won the match. Um, and you had guys like not just Ena Valencia, but this guy Sarmiento, Gonzalo Plata. They all played really, excellent tournaments.
Moises Caicedo deserves a big shout too.
Yep. They're all quality players, and I think Ecuador has a bright future because it's a very young team as well.
Indeed, indeed. And the fact that the 2026 World Cup is extended to 6 direct South American spots, it means that they could qualify a bit easier for that tournament, and they do have the young crop of players to to compete. So well done. I think we both did well for Group A, but I got Group A spot on. We won't be competing. This is not a competition because I would have got perfect points, and I would have been way ahead of Football Fair, and he would have had a lot of catching up to do. But we won't be competing against each other right about now. Maybe next time. But let's talk about Group B here. So this is what Group B turned out to be. England topping the group, 7 points. The USA with 5, Iran 3, and Wales with 1 point. Well, before I get to you, I have to say that Wales really disappointed me. I had them topping the group. I had it was like a left field pick just because I didn't want to be boring, and I show a little bit of faith in Wales because they're somewhat a tournament type of team. And I said, why not, man? Let's go with Gareth Bale and Wales to do the thing, you know what I mean? But apparently Robert Page and I wasn't on the same page, and they came in dead last behind Iran. So give it up to Iran, who did pick up a victory against Wales, bouncing back after that 6-2 thrashing against England. So credit to Iran. And they had it. They had it in their hands against the USA to make it to the round of 16. But they were very defensive. And the USA, England going through. So I got England coming in second, Wales first, USA third, and Iran fourth. So I screwed up this group pretty much, you know what I mean? But I f this one up. I have no explanation here. This group was all over the place. What are your thoughts on this group?
Well, predicting international football is not easy. It feels like it's getting harder and harder as the game expands, and you have other teams that are rising up and able to be competitive. I had a left field pick from this group as well, topping. I had Iran coming first because I thought that I did. I don't regret it because I feel like if things had gone just a little bit differently, they could have actually escaped with 6 points from this group. I thought that, being close to playing at home, because right across the Strait of Hormuz, Asian, everything going on in their country, I thought maybe they would use that to like elevate the team. I had Iran coming first. I had England coming second, just like you. I had Wales coming third. I had no faith in the U.S. this year, man.
So it's fair to say that the USA were a shock team in this group because none of us predicted them to go through, and they did. So listen, bro, give a round of applause to the USA, man. Let's give a round. They deserve it. They deserve it because none of us predicted them to go through, and they did. Well, Iran, look, I didn't have any faith in Iran. They're a good team in qualifiers, but as soon as they hit the World Cup, they show some promise. But against the class of the other teams, they usually falter. But Wales, I have to say, was the most disappointing team in this group. And it will be tough to see them making it back to the next World Cup, but they could. But they would need somebody to step into the fill the shoes of Gareth Bale when he eventually calls it quits. So
yeah, I was shocked that they didn't even score from open play. This group, I was like, "What happened to you guys?" Like
they scored once,
a penalty against us. Yeah,
Exactly. But look, credit to England. They did prove both of us wrong as well. So I don't want to give the USA a clap without giving England a clap. Come on. England. Give them a clap, man. You know what I'm saying? Pretty good during the group phase, but of course, in the knockouts, they kind of had that penalty hoodoo going against them once again. We'll get there. So that's pretty much it for Group B. Anything to wrap up before we move on to the next one?
I'm proud of the way the USA played and how our guys really stepped up. And I'll say this right now: the way we played for long stretches for all three games, we could maybe even should have topped the group, because that match against England, we had the ability to take the lead there and maybe go on to win it. So all else I have to say is, I mean, that's pretty much it. Yeah. I am disappointed.
I have to say that the USA not clinical enough, and that cost them the top place in the group. Not clinical.
For sure.
And maybe they would have stand a better chance against Senegal in the round of 16 than they did against the Dutch. So be clinical. When you got your chances, put them away. Yep. So we move on to Group C. Nice, short, sweet. We go on to the next group. Oh boy. Ooh. The group of the eventual champions. And we have Argentina, Poland, Mexico, Saudi Arabia. And I did predict Saudi Arabia to come in fourth, Poland third, Mexico second, and Argentina topping the group. But we know things didn't start out the way we thought they would, with Argentina losing to Saudi Arabia. But Messi, he vowed. He actually said, we slipped up, and we vowed to the fans that we'll make amends, we'll come back, and we're going to win the whole thing. And they did it. So credit to Argentina. They didn't lose after that game, and they were caught by surprise here. And it showed throughout the tournament, when you do test Argentina, you could get success. And for the teams that didn't try their luck, too bad. Croatia comes to mind. But the other teams like Netherlands, France in the final, they did give Argentina a run for their money, though. But look, kudos to Argentina. Look, before we move on, round of applause to Argentina. We're talking about the winners here. But I didn't predict Poland to go through, because they're not usually a good tournament team, but they pulled through. You know what I'm saying? They were good defensively under Michnovic, and give him a lot of credit for that. But Mexico, very disappointing campaign. It's probably one of their worst World Cup campaigns, reminiscent of their form between 1930 and 60. So, look, Tata Martino and his boys, they basically regressed and failed to get out of the group for the first time in God knows when, 7 World Cups. Yeah. So pretty poor and disappointing. And Saudi Arabia, they sold us fake chains, counterfeit money and things, you know what I mean? Because going there, beating Argentina, man, I was like, Hervé Renard, masterclass. These boys are going to get through. 1994. Yeah, right. Okay. So what about you? What you had for Group C here?
I had the same exact order you did. I had Argentina first, Mexico second, Poland third, and Saudi Arabia last. Yeah, Argentina, massive respect. You have an 80+% chance usually of teams that lose their first match, they go out in the group stages historically. The way they rallied, and they became only the second team in history to win this tournament after losing that opener, that gut punch against Saudi Arabia of all teams. It's impressive. And I think that you give Saudi Arabia, of course, credit for that game. I think that Hervé Renard, they played the offside trap brilliantly in that match.
Yeah, that's a great point, man.
And I think that all it took was those short spurts of them going on the front foot, as we saw in like the first few minutes of that second half when they got those 2 goals in like quick succession. One of the best days of the World Cup, one of the biggest upsets. I thought that Al-Dassari's strike was one of the best goals of the tournament, really.
Indeed.
Mexico, yeah, you and I you and I fell back on their tendency to be a tournament team. Like we fell on their pedigree. Our mistake, because it turned out to be that all the signs were on the wall for 2022 that this was going to be a bad vibes tournament, and it sunk them in the end. And their record of 30 years of coming out of the groups is over. And it sucks because you look at the federation, you look at Tata Martino and his failures, not calling up a real true striker into this team, which I think hurt them so badly. And then for Poland, they didn't play attractive football, but it was efficient, and they survived. And I mean, good for them. Round of 16, I think, was always going to be their ceiling. But they scraped through, and there was a moment on the final match day. You remember, this was one of the most dramatic group finishes. They came through on goal difference in the end, but there was a moment where they were going through on fair play points.
Yeah, pretty dramatic stuff.
So, yeah, I mean, my overall ending thought is this proved to be somewhat of a group of death, because even Argentina were in the mix for elimination until the dying minutes of their last match. So
pretty dramatic group, I have to say. And all luck to Mexico, but Luis Chavez, one of the bright spots from this World Cup, and hopefully we see a lot of him in the future. And it's so crazy that was the first time I heard about this guy, because I don't watch the Liga MX, but I was like, who the hell is this guy, man? He just lit up the tournament for Mexico. No one else really looked good for me, except maybe Guillermo Ochoa, who just earned a move to Salernitana on a free until the end of the season, and Luis Chavez, which is, a breath of fresh air for the Mexican team.
Luis Chavez's free kick, in my opinion, was the best free kick of the tournament.
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was indeed brilliant.
I screamed when he scored. I screamed. I was in my sofa chair. I was like, "What?" Yeah, and I gotta say this as a CONCACAF enthusiast, I was sad that Mexico didn't make it through.
I thought they would have pulled through, because their team, whenever it comes to the World Cup, it doesn't matter what happened before, they pull themselves together and they perform, but not this time around at all. So with that being said, we're going to move, because we could spend a very long time talking about these groups. And we talk about Group D, where the eventual finalist France was in that group. And my predictions, well, the group ended with France 6 points, Australia 6 points, Tunisia with 4, and Denmark with 1. My prediction was Denmark topping the group, France coming in second, Tunisia third, and Australia fourth. So I got this group really, really wrong, and I have to blame. Look, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but Denmark were bums, literally vagrants throughout the World Cup, because I don't know, man. I just don't know what happened to this team. They scored once. They just didn't have any cohesiveness. They just looked like 11 headless chickens running around on the field. And I was like, this cannot be the same team that made a run to the semis of the Euros. This can't be the same team that was beating up France before the World Cup. This cannot be the same inspiring Denmark team under Kasper Hjulmand, who had done such a great job up until then. It couldn't. Last. Behind Tunisia and Australia. No disrespect to these teams, but Denmark, you got to come through this group, man. You have to. 1 point. It got to be the worst performance in their history, or at least reset memory.
Yeah, you mean no disrespect to Denmark? I do. They made me look foolish. I had them top of this group and going on a deep run here. You see the red on their flag. That red on their flag was my face of embarrassment. I had to put my hand over the camera right now, because
you're holding it back. You had them making it to where? You deep where?
I had them having a respectable fit. I had them making the final, man.
Exactly.
I had them in the final because I thought they were going to build. I thought they were going to build from Euro 2020. They looked really sharp in the Nations League. They beat France twice. They have so much, a whole plethora of goal scorers on their team. And like you said, they should have beaten Australia and Tunisia. And what?
I had these guys
In the
making
semis.
it to the semis and coming in fourth or third? No, third actually against Brazil. And coming in third for their best ever world. So both of us predicted Denmark
to get a medal.
Basically, the Danish dynamites literally blew up in our faces. You see what I mean? Our predictions blew up in our faces because we predicted this team to get to the semis. You the final, for me, third. You second. You predicted them to come in second. I predicted them to come in third. I cannot believe this. And they came last in the group. Last. No, the strikers didn't know what they were doing. They had no midfield. The defense was all over the place. Kasper Schmeichel is still like maybe going through the motions after leaving Leicester, and the team just been horrible. But look, we give Denmark a lot of shine. Credit to Tunisia, though. You know, that victory against France, the draw against Denmark, it was pretty impressive. But I think they dropped the ball when they lost to Australia. Because a draw against Australia, it puts them through.
Sure.
You see what I mean? Because the draw against France, the win against France came because France changed their whole team and they were all over the place. And another thing, I don't know why Wabi Kazri wasn't getting minutes, because you saw the moment he started getting minutes. Maybe he was injured, but I don't think so. I think if he was that injured, he would have been on the bench, but bring him on halftime or something. There was something going on between Kazri, and the manager.
Yeah, and he ended up scoring the only goal they had of the entire tournament in that final one against France. And I agree. I think the knife through the heart of Tunisia was that loss to Australia, because they should have gotten at least a draw out of it, because they were producing, I think, the bulk of the chances for most of the first half in that game. And they did well enough to get that draw against Denmark. I thought it was a statement against a tournament dark horse. I'm like, okay, Tunisia, let's see you build from here, come out of the group for the first time. But I have to say, Yusuf Massekni, not
disappointing.
The guy blows. He blows.
Yeah.
You know, and
he waited so long for a World Cup, and he missed so many very, very good chances, you know.
And a lot of Tunisian fans say he's one of the North African players in the last decade, maybe the North African player that had the most untapped potential, because he chose to go play in Qatar for so long, and he never wanted to move to a club in a better league. And
the money is sweet. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And the money's sweet. You know what I mean? You don't want to leave the money like that.
Got to give a lot of respect to Australia. I think they got bounced in that first match against France, and I thought to myself, oh my God, man, they're going to get humiliated. But they ended up coming through. Would you believe it? Equal with France on points, but with a negative goal differential.
Yeah.
Because they were more clinical, and it just came across like they were more motivated. I think that's the word, because
a very dogged team, you know, tenacious, and they seem to want it more. Even against the odds, they played so many matches during qualifiers. I think they played the most matches during qualifiers out of all the teams that qualified. The couple rounds in Asia, the playoffs in Asia, then the playoff again. So, you know, these guys just love to do things the hard way, and they were pretty impressive. Graham Arnold, is he still in charge? At least he can't get sacked, because he got them out the group. You see what I mean? Yeah. Against most people's expectations. So he's the one that walked away laughing, because, you know, the journalists in Australia and the fans criticize his style and everything. So he did pretty well with that team that doesn't really have a lot of superstars. You know, we have one or two good players in the team. That and a few players, you know, stood up during this tournament. Mitch Duke comes to mind, you know, stood up during this tournament, and they have a bright future with this kid Garan Kuola, and a couple guys like Keanu Bacchus, and you know, Riley McGree and so on and so forth. But they really put up a good fight, and I never expected them to get through, and they did.
Yeah, they did, and they almost pushed Argentina to extra time, man. If Aziz Behich scores that after that run up, that's like one of the goals of the tournament.
I know.
That's like, oh, you're Argentina. Well, guess what? I'm Maradona now. I'm Maradona. It was almost hero.
Emi Martinez, he came up with some massive saves during this World Cup, and the Garancourt save is one of them, man, because that was going in. That was taking that game to extra time for sure. Yeah. And if it goes to extra time and penalties, you never know what's going to happen, man. But look, for France, we knew that it would come through. But I just think because Denmark was their bogey team, maybe not anymore, that they would actually, come in second. But Kylian Mbappe, he was the difference. He was the X factor for France at the World Cup and in the group phase, of course, because that's where he was at his best. He scored tons of goals, but he did come alive in the final again. But it was a group phase where Kylian Mbappe really, impressed a lot of people there, especially that game against Denmark, the game against Australia. He did well too. So, France, no surprise that they topped the group, but I just thought that Denmark would have actually done a bit better.
So wait, what was your final standings for this group?
France second, Denmark topping, Tunisia and Australia.
So this group was a Jekyll and Hyde for me because I had one prediction that paid off and one that just bombed. So I had Denmark in first. I had Australia coming second. I thought they were going to advance this year.
Oh, wait. So how come you're waiting so long to mention that you had France fall into the champion's curse?
Because I thought we were going deep into this group so much. I thought we mentioned it. Then I remembered, oh, wait, no, we didn't. So
wow.
I had France fall into the champion's curse. And for those first 18 minutes against Australia, I was feeling good. I was like, this is going to happen. But
I thought it was going to happen too, because once Australia scored, I was like, oh boy, here we go.
Australia was every tournament I always allow myself one superstitious pick. Mm-hmm. I had Australia because I thought then a group again with France and Denmark. Usually groups with the same teams don't pan out the same way.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be more they'll put in a better showing than last time. Maybe, and I thought Champions Curse is going to kick in. Who's going to benefit, Australia or Tunisia? I went with Australia because Tunisia, they never get out the group. So I'm like, you know what? It might be time for Australia to come through because 3 World Cups now in a row, they didn't come out of the first round. So I had Denmark coming first. I admit that's superstitious. I had Denmark first. I had Australia second. I had Tunisia third. I had France.
What?
Yeah, I know. I had France bombing.
Well, look, it's not impossible because they've done it in the past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've definitely done it in the past. So I could see why you did that. But we move on. We move on to Group E. This was a strange group, man. This group was a strange group. So Japan ended up top of the group. Spain second, Germany third, Costa Rica fourth. My predictions: Costa Rica fourth, Spain third, Japan second, and Germany first. So it's similar to your last group. I had Japan going through, but Spain missing out and Germany actually doing well. But I know we've been harsh on Belgium. We'll get to Belgium. We've been harsh on Denmark, but I don't think we've been harsh enough on Germany. I don't think. I think the thing is, it's so weird that it's not even talked about enough.
Yeah.
It's not talked about enough because it's like, what is going on here? These guys didn't get out of the group, and this is the least likely team that this could ever happen to, because these boys always make it to deep in tournaments. Deep. Either they go on to win it, come in second, semis, quarterfinal, they always make it deep. Uncharacteristically for the last 2 tournaments, they got knocked out in the group phase. And this is weird.
It's very weird because prior to 2018, they always got to at least the quarterfinals of a World Cup since 1954. They had 16 consecutive at least the last 8 finishes, by far the longest streak of anybody in the world, probably the longest we'll ever see ever in this sport. And on the last 2 World Cups, group stage exit, and it just goes to show that even in the post-Yogi Low era, they're still in that funk, man. They're still in that funk. And Hansi Flick, I mean, he kept his job, but um, the pressure's mounting now because they got the Euros coming up in less than 2 years. They're going to be hosting. But anyway, sticking to just this group.
This quote is irrelevant. Football is a simple game. 22 men chase the ball for 90 minutes, and at the end, the Germans always win. It's irrelevant. Not relevant anymore.
No.
Not relevant anymore because first match of the tournament, they lost. They didn't make it out the group. They didn't do it in 2018. So that quote, irrelevant. I don't want to hear anybody quote that anymore. That's done. Gary Lineker, you could just erase that from the internet. It's done. So Japan beating Germany, that was a big highlight at the beginning of the group there. But the thing is, with Japan, they went and they lost to Costa Rica. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
The match where they were supposed to win, they lost. And these dudes came back. Let's scroll down here and beat Spain. The same way they beat Germany, the same exact way. And I was like, Moriyasu, pull off another masterclass again. Ridiculous. So credit to Japan. They do deserve a round of applause. And I had them getting out the group. Did you have them getting out the group?
No, I didn't. I had the 2 powerhouses coming through. I had Germany and Spain. I had Germany coming first, I believe. Spain second. Well, you should
have known. You should have known it was too good to. It was a setup. Think about it. It was a setup. It was a setup because you look at the group. You're like, Germany, Spain. Nah, one of these guys have to miss out. That's the way I looked at it because I was like, nah. This ain't gonna happen. This definitely ain't gonna happen. One of these guys have to miss out. And one of them did.
You had who? You had Germany.
I had Spain missing out.
So you had Germany and Japan going through.
Yeah.
Okay.
This group was so weird because Germany and Spain, they canceled each other out, and Costa Rica, they got a victory against Japan. And then the last game where it was just all over the place. It was Costa Rica was going through the round of 16 at one time. It was for 3 minutes, Costa Rica were in the round of 16. And I was upstairs, I remember, and I ran downstairs. I went live. I couldn't believe it. I was going crazy that day. This group actually made the World Cup very, very special as well on the last match day where Costa Rica were leading against Germany, but then they allowed the goals. And then Germany at one time, they were going through and then they were not. And, it was just crazy, man.
Yeah, and this proved to be another group of death, which on paper looked like you had 2 clear favorites and you had 2 teams maybe that could upset, but who should come through. Those 3 minutes in the last match day might have been the most dramatic 3 minutes of the group stages of this World Cup because, listen, if Costa Rica held up for that and they went through, this would have been, I think, the most surprising group finish in World Cup history. You have Germany and Spain going out, and then Japan and Costa Rica both go through. It's cool when only what happens like with one team gets upset, but 2 in the same group. And I have to give credit to Costa Rica. Let's give them credit because they got destroyed in that opener against Spain. You would say even humiliated.
Yep.
And the way they responded was they were not pushovers for the rest of this group. They looked like the worst team, but they played to their strengths and they took the minimal chances they had when they came to them. And Luis Fernando Suarez, I think, got it right against Hajime Moriyasu, and they only had 2 touches in the box in that match against Japan that led to the whole game that led to, I think, Keisha Fuller's goal. And they were in the mix all the way to the end, that match against Germany. And they actually came from behind in that match to take the lead, didn't they? Temporarily.
Yeah, they came back. They were 2-1 up. The thing is, right, this group was so dramatic. Just to add some little tidbits from this group that I had saved before we do move on. Costa Rica's victory against Japan saw the fewest touches in the opposition box, 2 for winning side in a World Cup match on record.
Jesus.
2 touches, 2 touches in the opposition box, which was absolutely nuts when you think about it, right? Hear this, right? This is crazy. Joel Campbell won 15 duels against Japan, the most by a player in a single game at the 2022 World Cup. 15 duels. He woke up because he was absent in the game against Spain, the 7-0 game, right? So there's more. There's actually more from this group. And there was actually let me get this one for you. Okay, Japan's second goal. Remember this goal? In their 2-1 win over Spain was checked by VAR to determine if the ball had gone out of play. The video match official used the goal line camera images to check if the ball was still partially on the line or not. That was nuts. How did that ball stay in play? I don't even understand.
And
I don't get it.
It eliminated Germany. Germany were eliminated from this World Cup by millimeters.
I'm telling you, man.
I never seen anything like that. Yeah, and Japan, it's funny because Japan topped this group because they put in 2 clinical performances in 2 second halves. It's like because they went down to Germany 1-0 at the break. They went down 1-0 to Spain at the break. And then Moriyasu just made those substitutions and he made those adjustments. And he was a very reactive manager, I think, in this World Cup.
2 more before we move. Luis Enrique said, we were eliminated for 3 minutes. I had no idea. I would have had a heart attack, literally, if they were eliminated, right? Hansi Flick made a humane substitution at the 93rd minute of the game against Costa Rica. He brought on Matthias Ginter, who was part of the squad for 2014, 2018, and 2022, and did not make a single appearance. So he did get some minutes there against Costa Rica. Very, very nice, right? Very, very nice. But that was pretty weird, though, that he was part of the campaign for so long and didn't get any minutes. And I was looking back at, you go through Instagram, I was seeing a reel of the goal that was scored in 2014. That was Andre Schürrle that crossed that ball to Götze. Yeah. It's crazy, the rise and fall of some of these guys from Germany. Schürrle went to Chelsea, didn't work out, and Schürrle was nice, man. And then Götze, I don't know what happened to him. So Germany, man, what Germany, bro? They weren't bad. I'm not gonna say they were bad, but that game against Japan cost them dearly.
Yeah, there were actually moments in that match against Japan they could have put the game away early because remember
many times in the first half, times.
I think Gundogan struck the post again.
Like, it was so wasteful in the first half. But give it up to Jamal Musiala, though. Musiala, best player for Germany by far at the World Cup, man. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think you seemed. I remember you posted on Twitter that you thought that keeping Hansi Flick was going to mean more failure. Do you think that's the wrong move?
Keeping Hansi, well, I thought Flick would have been successful, you know what I mean? Because look at what he did with Bayern Munich, and he's done a pretty good job since he took charge of the team. But it's a shocker, bro. It's a shocker. You see what I mean? And kudos to Japan for doing that. Kudos to Costa Rica for actually holding on in that game against Germany too. Because if we look, there was also a point where in that game, let's say there was also another close situation in that group as well, if I'm not mistaken. Germany needed goals. They needed more goals. So if Spain had scored one more goal, right? If Spain had scored one more goal, then Spain would have gone up to top the group on 5 points.
Mm-hmm.
Japan, they would have been on 4 points. Germany would have been on 4 points, but they would have had if they scored more, they could have had a better goal difference than Japan. You see?
Yeah, that's true.
If Japan had conceded one more goal, they would have gone below Germany. So this group was so crazy. If Japan had conceded a goal, Germany and Spain go through.
Or if they had that goal that was a nail biter that may or may not have crossed the line, that was overturned, they would have been eliminated, Japan, and Germany would have went through.
You mean the ball that one that didn't the controversial goal line thing?
Yeah, if the officials determined that it did cross the line fully,
exactly,
that could have sent Germany to the next round if the results, had held up. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, man.
It's insane.
Yep. So we spent a little time on this group, but it was well deserved. Group F.
This is where I get the flex now.
Group F. So I think Football Pharaoh gained a lot of points here. I predicted Morocco to come in last. Croatia, I predict, Canada second, Canada third, I mean. So Morocco fourth, Canada third, Croatia second, and Belgium to top the group. All right. Belgium, another Germany, and another Denmark. 3 of the massive teams, basically, in modern world football that flopped big time. And that's the first time I use this word today, flop. But it's the epitome of what happened to Belgium at the World Cup. Flop. They flopped. Big time. Like a fish out of water, flopping. You see what I mean? Flops. These guys are disappointments. See what I mean? The camp in disarray, players not getting along with each other. Roberto Martinez have absolutely no idea what he's doing. He basically depended on the strength of the team all over the years. And I don't understand how you have young quality defenders in the team and you're persisting with Alderweireld and Vertonghen and Meunier. Like, what are you? Are you stupid? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Aging back line, and I mean, they just had a lot of goal scoring issues in this game, man. The Michy Batshuayi found the back of the net. It was the only one that scored it. It was against the run of play. You remember that against Canada, a game that Canada was dominating. And entering this tournament, I made a video back over the summer.
Bro, I had these guys making the final. Let me say that before I forget. The final. Coming in second. Final. Best World Cup performance ever. And they flopped. Barely beat Canada. Let's make that clear. Barely. Where Canada should have gotten a penalty. They did get one, which was saved. But they should have gotten another penalty where the referee effed up and didn't, the officials messed up. And again, that I don't know why they persist with this guy, Johnny Sikazwe from Zambia. I don't know why. I don't know how did he show up at the World Cup after what happened at the AFCON? How?
I don't know, man. I really don't know. But Belgium was a team that I had flopping. I had them crashing out in the group stages. And it wasn't just a pick that was like, oh, let me be edgy here and controvert. No, like going back to the Nations League, I made a video back in June. Remember when they got thumped by the Netherlands in that Nations League match?
Yeah.
I was watching it. I'm like, these guys might actually suffer at the World Cup this year. Because they say, okay, yeah, it's the Dutch. But yeah, Croatia, very well drilled and team. I think
the thing they should have beat Croatia though. That's the thing. I thought, look, one win, a draw, and a loss. It ain't bad, but it's Belgium.
Yeah.
This team was number one for the last 4 years or so, until just recently. If you see that, okay, these guys in the back a bit too old. You had a guy by the name of Wout Faes, a youngster by the name of Zibast. You bring these guys in, mix it up. have one old guy at the back, one youngster. Look out, that is what Croatia did. You see what I mean? Every team did that.
Yep.
Every team had an experienced guy at the back and a younger guy. Portugal did it. Croatia did it. You go through, everyone did it. They had a mixture. They didn't have two senior citizens at the back. And this is what affected this team.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? And even the De Bruyne might have been joking about the whole team is old kind of thing. I think deep within he knows. Look, don't even get me started with Eden Hazard.
He's done.
Look,
He's
best. It's best thing he did was to retire because he's absolutely done. He's done. And Belgium, I asked this question during the World Cup. Are they finished? It seems like they are. They basically have to go back from it basically now have to be like a whole restart of their project.
Like you said, they do have some youngsters coming through. I mean, like this Openda's very young.
Doku. Remember when Doku came on in the last when Doku came on against Croatia? They almost won the game. He created chances, and that was the first time he got minutes, I think. Real minutes.
They also have this other kid that's pretty decent. He's got wicked pace. Charles de Ketelera.
Bro, Roberto Martinez is a bum himself. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He should have won something with this team. Something.
I don't think they're done just yet, but I mean, it's looking like this golden generation is going to fade away without any silverware. And if they don't get anything, not even a Nations League, that's a big, big disaster. But man,
bro, they ain't winning nothing.
We got to talk now about Morocco. I had Morocco coming through the group. So I didn't say what my standings were. I had good job, Morocco. So I had Croatia, and first. I thought they were going to win it. The group. I had Morocco in second. I had Belgium in third. I had Canada in last. That's what I had.
Yeah, I think we both agree that Canada would not have done well, but I had Morocco coming last, bro. These guys made it to the semis. God damn.
Well, I mean, it was kind of out of left field, though, to your own credit, because Walid Regawi came in, very limited time, took over from Halilhodzic. Even Moroccan fans' expectations for the tournament were low. Remember, they looked horrible in that friendly against the U.S. We beat them 3-0, I think, back in July, August. But I had Morocco coming through because I thought that there was going to be at least one North African team that did well and possibly carried the region, this being Arab World Cup. And I didn't think that how they looked at the AFCON earlier this year and how they looked with Halilhodzic was a true reflection of their quality. And I looked at this group and I thought, okay, Belgium seems ripe for the picking. And I also think Canada's not experienced because they're not used to playing at this level on this stage. So there's an opening here for Croatia and Morocco to come through. So I just went with it. I was like, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with Croatia and Morocco. But do you think? And Morocco were impressive. I mean, they topped the group. They kept, in my opinion, 3 clean sheets because I don't hold own goals against teams. And they had a clean sheet all the way into the semifinals. That's incredible, man.
Yeah, Morocco. They were the breakout team of this World Cup. The Dark Horses. They were the team that stole many hearts around the world. So credit to the Atlas Lions, man. They really did well. They topped the group ahead of last World Cup finalists, Croatia, heavyweights Belgium, Canada, who showed some promise throughout the World Cup, but didn't live up to some of the expectations that we had of them.
Yeah, and guys like Boufal and Amrabat and Abu Kalal and Bono. I mean, they were every area of the pitch. They were just phenomenal. And Walid Regawi, all I'm saying is when we do our best starting 11 in a future vid in the next few days, I'm flirting with picking him as like as the manager for that best 11, because you have to consider the context and what he was working with. That's just phenomenal.
True, true, true. And I have to say this before we do move on. Credit to Croatia, credit to Morocco. We know they both got to the semifinals. Big congratulations to those teams. It was a success. Group F, very successful World Cup, despite Belgium and Canada not doing well. But if this was a winter World Cup, like a true winter World Cup, which it was a winter World Cup, but if it was like a winter World Cup where it was played in cold conditions, maybe Canada would have topped this group. Maybe. When you think about it, that's crazy, right? What if they actually had a World Cup where it was played in cold conditions? That's not a bad, variable to add to the sport, when you think about it. Think about it.
You're right. Yeah, I think South Africa took place in winter for South Africa. They played in the Southern Hemisphere. I mean, Canada might have done better. We saw what they did in qualifying in those frigid conditions against Mexico and the U.S. So,
yep.
You would think a team like Morocco would be like, "What the fuck is this? They can't."
Exactly.
Oh, pardon me. I didn't mean to
It's
curse.
okay. It's okay. It's okay.
With Liam there.
Yeah, it's okay. He's sleeping though.
Okay. Yeah. Stop showing him Spain matches. But yeah, no, you're right. I mean, I agree with you. The climate would have had a different dynamic to it.
Yeah, man. So this group, very, very special group indeed. And we had some shockers here. We definitely did. So we move on to Group G, where Brazil topped the group, Switzerland second, Cameroon third, Serbia last. My prediction, Brazil topping, Switzerland second, Serbia third, Cameroon last. So I did pretty good for this group, but in terms of the third and fourth place, just a little switch there. No really surprises here whatsoever. The biggest surprise in this group is that Cameroon ended up beating a rotated Brazil team, becoming the first African team to beat Brazil at the World Cup. So big credit to Cameroon for that, feather in their cap. And they fought. They fought well, but wasn't enough in the end. Biggest disappointment for most people, Serbia. Not for me. Never thought they would do well, man. Never thought they would do well. But when you think about how they do during qualifiers, it's just amazing that they go into tournaments and perform so poorly.
Yeah, not only do they do well in qualifiers, they tend to qualify directly. And in this most recent one, they beat Portugal in Lisbon on that final day. Remember, man. You said at the beginning of the stream we're going to talk some smack. All I'm going to say is this: Argentina graduated from clown school. Clown school has to have always one inductee. Just be on the lookout in the future for a new member of clown school, because I am so done with Serbia.
Yeah.
My standings in this group: I had Brazil first, I had Serbia second, I had Switzerland third, I had Cameroon last. So I got that wrong. And man, I don't know what it is, but like Serbia, they just can't perform in major tournaments. And the thing is, they had in this group a Swiss team that is very much so a tournament team, because they always at least get past the first round, right? Usually.
Yeah. But credit to Switzerland, though. They look pretty solid during the group phase for the most part. They even gave Brazil a good run for their money, only because Casemiro had to pull a worldie out of his pocket why they lost that game. And the other games, they did well. You know what I'm saying? They did manage that victory against both Cameroon and Serbia, but lost to Brazil. And they could have ended up topping the group because Brazil ended up losing to Cameroon for the last match there. So look, for this group, we don't need to talk too forever about this. I think we touched on the main team, and it's Serbia. Very disappointing in Serbia for the most part. And Brazil, they were always going to get through to the knockout phase. Switzerland for me, yeah. Cameroon, I didn't give them a chance because I didn't even expect them to make it to the World Cup, but they did, so credit to them. But Serbia, they have to, be the talking point of this group, man.
I have a lot of respect for Cameroon after this and Rigobert's song, because they didn't get bullied in this group, and you and I were talking about how they were looking poised to be one of the worst teams entering this World Cup, but and
Yeah.
they beat a second string Brazilian side in that last day, but still, not many teams can say that they beat Brazil in a World Cup.
Yeah, and credit to
I say,
to Rigobot Song and Eto and these guys for making the call to actually drop Onana when he wasn't really being a team player and bringing in that goalkeeper Ipasi. Oh man, he was big. He pulled off some really massive saves, especially against Brazil. So it's not just a second string Brazil team that they beat. They weren't supposed to even win that game
no,
because Brazil were very good. Martinelli had a lot of chances that should have gone in, and Cameroon said, "Thou shalt not pass." So they truly
yeah,
deserve that 3 points, man.
yeah. A second string Brazil team is still stronger than Cameroon. Like that's
Exactly.
just this is the case, and they looked brilliant. I mean, in that match against Serbia, the way they came from behind in that 3-1 hole, um, there was chances for them to win that match, I think. And look, 4 points, 4 goals scored, 4 against. It's a pretty respectable fit compared to what Cameroon usually does at the World Cup when they get there. Say for 1990, like because they,
Bro, that 3-3 game against Serbia was a classic.
yes, it was.
Serbia allowing Cameroon to come back after being 3-1 up. And Serbia, they're responsible for their own downfall, man. Just
Mm-hmm.
played some poor football. Very,
Yep.
very poor football. But there's a few, bright spots. Strahinja Pavlovic, he's only 21. He's one for the future. I don't think Stojkovic used his strikers well enough. Remember, Kostic, he wasn't fully fit. Vlahovic wasn't really used in the earlier matches. Jovic hardly used. So maybe you could say he got it wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We got to give also a shout out to Richarlison for scoring one of the best goals of the tournament in that match against
Exactly.
that overhead strike against Serbia that first game.
Well said, well said, well said. And for Serbia, this game against Switzerland too, they were leading.
Yep.
These guys were 2-1 up and allow Switzerland to come back in the game. So, talk about disappointing, man. You see what I mean? You know what I mean? But Vincent Abubakar, he had a great World Cup. So, credit to him. They missed the 2018 World Cup as African champs, but this could be his final World Cup, but he definitely left his impression on the tournament. You got to say, Vincent Abubakar, I remember him for Porto, man. He used to blaze up the Champions League. But even in his latter stages of his career, he's been very good for the national team, I got to say. So credit to him.
Yeah, and he gets to end with
scoring a red card. With a red card.
And he knew what he did too. That's why he didn't protest or anything.
He actually, I think he slipped up. You know what I'm saying? He made the moment get the best of him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And he knew he screwed up because he had that grin on his face when he got carded.
Exactly. So, look, Football Fair, I think what we got to do, right? We're going to go on to Group H, and I think we got to only do the group reactions today because if we go into the knockouts, bro, this is going to be 2 hours, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think we're going to make the conscious decision and just finish off at Group H and make it an hour. The thing is, right, we planned to do at least 5 minutes per group. So we should have been done about 18 minutes ago, but the World Cup was so sweet, man. We go down rabbit holes and we get a little talkative, and then so it's about 25 to 30 minutes longer than it should be. And we ate up the time that we should have done the knockout. So we'll do the knockout in another one, and that keep hold us accountable to actually get the knockouts done, which I think will make a continuation of the series, episode 29. So let's you agree, right?
Yeah, I agree. We can do reaction to the knockouts in the next episode.
Exactly, because both of us are not 100% after we are still going through World Cup withdrawals, guys. We are still definitely going through the withdrawals and the hangover. So bear with us. And last but not least, Group H, where Portugal topped the group, South Korea came in second, Uruguay third, and Ghana last. My predictions: Ghana last, South Korea third, Portugal and Uruguay going through. So I should have known that one of these big guns would have got knocked out. I should have known that, but you know,
My biggest
I got sucked in.
my biggest regret of the entire group stages of the World Cup this year was for most of this year I had Portugal and South Korea coming through, but I gave in at the end and I had Uruguay. So I had the same final prediction as you did with Portugal, Uruguay going through, South Korea third, Ghana last. But I did have Korea at first initially, and I changed it, and I regret it. That's my biggest regret.
Yeah, well, South Korea they did well, man. They picked up a draw against Uruguay and they beat Portugal. So pretty impressive stuff. But the team that impressed me the most in this group is the team that this is a weird one. The team that impressed me the most came in last. And I gotta give it to Ghana because I didn't predict them to qualify. And I think if Otto Addo did some little things, just a few minute things differently, they would have gone through to the knockouts. Substitutions.
Like not taking Kudus off early against Portugal.
Exactly. And not taking Kudus off when they're doing well. And that's the thing. I don't get it. And maybe, okay, when they had that penalty against Uruguay, maybe Andre Ayew does not take that penalty. Maybe the best, the player with the most confidence in Kudus, the player that won the penalty, let him take it. He's the confidence player. He's the man that's have the vibes going for him. Let Kudus take the penalty. So if Kudus misses the penalty, okay, he could bounce back. Andre Ayew could never bounce back from that.
No, and it was a gut punch for Ghana because penalty, miss, Uruguay, obvious connection there. And then I think it was soon after Ayew missed, Uruguay scored twice quickly.
And Suarez involved in both goals.
Oh, God.
You see, crazy. Yo, I was on YouTube and I saw some good video says, get Dada Ayew off the national team ASAP. Dada Ayew, you I don't know, man. You came up clutch. I'm not gonna lie. Andre Ayew had his moments, but that moment was a forgettable one. That game against Uruguay, I think what Otto Addo should have did was maybe do something a little left field and not start any of the Ayew brothers. Send a lot of energy to Uruguay. Bring on guys like remember Kamaldeen Suleimania hardly used throughout the tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hardly used. You have Suleimania and Kudus on the field at the same time. That would have, oh man, listen. If Ghana gets the right man in charge going forward, this team, which was one of the youngest teams at the tournament, this team, much potential, man.
Oh, they can challenge the next AFCON for sure.
Yeah, so much potential because like with a lot of the guys integrated, like Lamptey. And the thing with Otto Addo, right? Because Lamptey and I can't remember the other guy name, but two fullbacks, they made errors in the game that they won against South Korea, right? They made errors. You know what he did? He dropped them for the game against Uruguay. I'm like, why are you switching up a winning team? This is a winning team. You play the same guys. They'll learn from their mistakes. How do you think they're going to get better? You see what I mean? How are they going to get better? So that's where I think Ghana went wrong. Look, big up to Chogwe Song, man. He was massive during the World Cup for South Korea. Almost coming back in that game. He gained fame around South Korea as well. A lot of ladies proposing to him. And this game was a pretty good one. But Ghana is a team that I think really made this group interesting. That 3-2 game against Portugal and the 3-2 game against South Korea. And the game against Uruguay, it could have been a different game, but Suarez and De Ascareta, they had something different to say. And the other thing too, I think you know Diego Alonso took off De Ascareta too early.
Yes, he did.
You
Yep.
see? So I'm telling you, man, a
Dumb.
lot of things could have gone different here when it
Really
comes to
dumb
this.
decision.
Huh?
Really dumb decision. I remember that. I was doing my post-match reaction for that. And honestly, this group also came down to fine margins because remember that penalty that was given against Uruguay against Portugal? That was considered
The soft penalty.
Yeah, you and I thought it was not. It was not a PK. It was one of the most controversial PKs given this whole tournament. And
Wait, what are you talking about? Was this the game where
yes,
Ronaldo almost scored with the hair?
yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah, that was that game.
Yeah, if that penalty is not given, I mean, and it ends 1-0, and all the other results in this group go. Uruguay advances on goal difference over South Korea.
Yep, you're right.
Very fine margins, and
You're right. You're right.
But at the end of the day, Uruguay has no one to blame but themselves.
Exactly, because they could have scored that extra goal. They scored that extra goal in that game against Ghana, and they go through.
Yeah, and they had an hour to do that because they were already 2-0 up, and this guy just takes skates off.
The Ghana goalkeeper was pretty good on the day too. You know what I mean? And Uruguay were protesting that they should have had penalties. Remember, it was a controversial last day where these guys were fighting and shoving the ref and knocking down VAR screens and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
But it's the karma that they got and what they deserved. And Have Hope Hutt said it the best. It was a bittersweet exit from the World Cup for Ghana because they went out and they also went out with Uruguay.
Yep.
Which was bittersweet.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Sure. Preventing them from getting more than 2 goals. All right, let's go. We're not going through, but you're not going through either. Let's go. And Suarez, of all people, he's protesting and the crying, the look on the face, man. These are some of the most memorable moments from the World Cup. That Suarez when they passed to him. Yep.
Yeah. When they discovered that South Korea just scored in the other game.
Yep. When he took out that extra shirt and he was hiding his face and crying. Oh man, that shirt got so much tears in it right now. You know what I'm saying?
Revenge 12 years in the making.
Yo, that shirt need to be desalinated before it could be good again. Oh my God! But
I want to say, Korea's goal, by the way. You and I? Oh man!
Yeah, that goal was sick. Son
from to Hwang Hee-chan, and that was a Hail Mary too, because that was Uruguay was attacking. Korea won the ball back, and then not Uruguay. Sorry, Portugal had the ball.
Yep.
Korea won the ball back, and they went quick in transition down the field, and Son laid that off the way that he.
I don't know, bro. The way Son got through those defenders and laid that ball off, that is Messi-esque.
Yep.
Because if you a lot of people. Okay, if you're watching this right now, just go back and watch that goal. You see exactly what we're talking about. The way he just, oh man, he went through a couple defenders first of all, and then got the pass off. And Hwang, who had hardly played throughout the tournament, brilliant, absolutely brilliant, man.
Yeah,
brilliant finish.
And another great scene from the World Cup was when the Korean players and the staff and everybody in the stands were like looking at their phones and huddled around and waiting for the confirmation of the Uruguay game. And the final whistle there was just amazing on the last match day of the World Cup, of the group stages.
This World Cup was an epic one, I have to say, and we can't touch on all the key moments, but we're gonna talk about this World Cup for a very long time. I think we will.
Agreed.
We will. And Portugal, man, we haven't talked a lot about them, but they did pretty good. They looked good. They looked like a team that could have actually gone on to win the tournament during the group phase. They definitely look good. But I think later on, I think doubt started kicking in with certain players. Ronaldo. We'll talk more about that when we get to the knockout phase. But
Mm-hmm.
that's why we have to do another. The next episode gotta be about the knockouts because
Yep.
we just can't do. We'll be here for 3 hours, guys. There's so
Yeah.
much to talk about. So much.
Yeah. I'm glad that this episode ran for as long as it did because it just shows the show that it's impossible to condense all the drama into just like 20, 30 minutes.
Exactly. And this is why I like World Cup Digest. Note the name. Digest, okay? It's for you to digest everything. It's not meant to be quick. It's not meant to be, it's going to be, we want to make it entertaining, but that's not the goal and the motive here. The motive is to digest everything, to take our time and break down as much as we can. And we still, just like food, you cannot digest everything.
Nope. There's always more.
There will always be something that come through as waste, something that we will miss. We cannot digest not everything is digestible. Not everything. So, we tried our best here. If you have anything to add, make sure you do so in the comments. But these were our reactions to our World Cup group stage predictions.
Want me to take it away now, Dom? So
Definitely, bro. Land the plane, bro. Qatar Airways.
Qatar Airways landing at JFK Airport.
Yep.
So thank you for having me on again. We did another collab, episode 28, reacting to our group stage predictions, and there will be a part 2 when we dive into the knockout phases for episode 29. Let us know in the comment section below, guys, how your predictions went. Where do you think we got things horribly wrong? If you want to laugh at us or give us praise, doesn't matter.
I think we did pretty good, though.
I think on the whole we did pretty all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know what you guys thought was the biggest surprise from the group stages. We want to hear from you. So hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Take care, God willing. Peace out.
Peace.